Hello out there, and welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. We got two interesting cats in the studio today.
Cats.
Yay.
Kenny and Brandon kicking off a new podcast. So they're in here to talk to us about it a little bit and hang out and bullshit and do all those fun things. So how you guys doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How you doing?
Peachy. Very peachy.
So what was the big driving force for deciding to start doing podcasting?
Well, for me, podcasts are a huge part of my life. I listen to it probably as much as I work, 40 hours a week plus. I don't know, just mentally it helps me cope a lot more with the feelings that I'm having, and obviously get to the point where I don't have to work a 9 to 5.
So what are you guys going to call it?
Thought Dump Podcast.
Thought Dump
Yes.
Podcast?
Yeah, Thought Dump. It's kind of like general discussion, just to let things come out. Like, we like Thought Dump because it's not like, doesn't sound too sophisticated.
I want to generalize it too.
Yeah.
That word thought and dump, those two words together, it means a good thing, Whatever you're having that, whatever random thoughts you're fucking having that day, or that evening, that night, whatever you got collected, you get to dump it.
Yeah.
Right fucking here.
Yeah.
And that's the idea of it.
So it's not gonna be a podcast about a specific subject. Then it could be just whatever's you guys happen to be, or your guests happen to be, because you're gonna have guests too, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have some guests, but we were also thinking like, kind of have like a general discussion. Like our first one, obviously, we were talking earlier before the show is going to be more about like conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
But we are also going to have the general discussion podcast as well.
We'll have themes run along every week or whatever we think of or find interesting to us per se, because we know that'll be interesting to the world.
Yeah.
There has to be corollary, right?
Yeah,
if you guys find it interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna try to steer clear of that fucking current theme shit, because everyone does current themes, but we want to touch base with local shit like our town, Newark.
Yeah.
We'll do some local shit, like what's going on to the town, what are they building, what are they changing, what are they adding, yada yada, etc. But yeah,
you're gonna have like local business owners and people like that, and bands and artists and stuff on as well.
Yeah. I already have probably, I don't know, 10 guests off the top of my head that are already willing to come on and talk about it. Mostly musicians and artists. I know a couple business owners and stuff.
fucking tattoo artists,
Yeah.
a bunch of people, different types of people.
How do you put a tattoo artist on a podcast?
Because they got fucking good stories too, man.
Yeah.
They go to fucking strip clubs with basketball shorts on too, and they get some interesting stories going on as well.
Yeah.
They got things going on in their life. They're creative. They're artistic. I want to view that brain on audio format.
Yeah.
That's how I want to process it.
And obviously, I would like to hear the side from like how they feel about like tattooing other people's art onto people, or if someone comes in with an original idea, how much creative freedom they like with their own work, and their travel
Kenny's
stories.
got more specifics.
Kenny's going in for like the heart, right?
Yeah.
And you want the smut.
I want the fun and smut and the enjoyment of it, There's crazy behind everyone.
Yeah,
I want to see that crazy.
Kenny's all looking for the meaning in life.
Yeah.
Well, we all find Buddha in our own time.
Poor Kenny. It's a treat. I mean, whatever, man. It's whatever you find interesting in people, right?
Yeah.
That's what's important.
That's what makes the thought dump, because it's whatever their thoughts are, and they're going to dump it on us, and we're going to relate to them, fucking share back with them, tie into it as well.
So I'm going to guess your podcast is going to be marked E for explicit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Or everyone. I like to think of it for everyone.
So Thought Dump's not going to be kid friendly, is what we're saying.
I wouldn't say so.
Not safe for work.
I can't flow kid friendly.
Yeah.
Don't put it on at work, huh?
Put it on at work for sure, but just keep it low in your headphones.
Yeah.
So you've moved along. You guys got your first show coming up here real soon, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to be releasing it within like the next week or two. We were aiming for around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
We just got to get that fucking that music clip, the MP3 file from Chris.
Yeah.
What's the band? Fucking forget.
Hope Dealers.
Hope Dealers. Yeah, their song that was at
Trouble in Paradise.
Trouble in Paradise.
Yeah.
I can't remember shit right now. The beer's affecting me. But yes, that's the song we're going to be using as the intro and outro. And then after we get that, we should be able to compile the episode and get it released.
Yeah. So you guys are eventually going to be doing like live stuff, or?
We'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, do it for a year or two. And we'll see how it pops off.
Yeah. See how many people you upset.
Absolutely, yeah. Then we'll do it live. We upset 100, we'll do it live.
Is the goal here, I mean, are you guys looking to do this to also get to the point where you take on advertisers and things like that?
I mean, I think it would be cool eventually, but I think it would have to be like maybe certain advertisers. 'Cause I know a lot of people don't like it if you say a certain message. I know other podcasts have run into that, like they're making a joke about the advertisement, and then the advertiser will hit them up like, oh, you know, don't really talk about our product like that. And it's like, Jesus Christ, I'm just trying to be funny and entertaining to get you guys some eyes. So I think it would have to depend on, you know,
if they listen to us first or not.
Yeah.
Because you should probably listen to it before you say, hey, promote my product.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a tough world, right? Because you're stepping off into the world of where everything you say is being recorded.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you put yourself out there with a message or any kind of opinion, you open yourself also up to criticism.
Yep.
So you guys prepared for that?
That's the main thing I was worried about with Kenny. That's why I kept texting him and shit. I was like, well, worry about these motherfuckers. What are they going to say to us?
Yeah.
But he's like, it doesn't matter really, does it?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. We're going to do it anyway.
Yeah. You can't really like censor yourself because then it's fake at that point. You know, obviously back off of some things that you say. I mean, because you don't want to put the wrong image of yourself out there if you're just trying to say something with your friends and be funny.
You don't want to offend to offend.
Yeah.
If you're going to offend, mean it from the heart.
There's a lot of that out. I mean, look, in the sea of podcasting, right, there's a lot of that out there already. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of mad people with opinions that are out there, you know, ready to and sensationalism and doing things that are controversial is certainly a way to drive downloads and you know, view counts and stuff like that. So
I guess that money rolling in your pocket.
Yeah, it's easy to do though. That's the thing. It is. I mean, well, okay, it's easier. I would, now that you guys have kind of taken on this journey. I mean, were you surprised at? What did you guys think? Did you think it was easier than you thought it was going to be to get to where you are, where you're just pre-launch here, or harder to get to here?
Kenny fucking Schaefer?
I don't know. I think it was like been a mix, like, because it was hard initially to like just get an idea of what we were going to do, you know, as far as the overall show, because we didn't want to be too much like somebody else's podcast, be like a copycat, you know.
Yeah, kind of like me.
Nah. Everybody I know, I tell
Joe
them.
Rogan, Mark Maron, anybody I can copy, I do, man.
See, that's the thing, though. The people that listen to those podcasts fucking every day for hours on end, they kind of emulate that in a way.
Yeah.
And you're going to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, and musicians do the same thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's no guitar like I've ever played that someone else has, that I didn't hear from someone else, whether it's Jimmy Page or whatever, David Gilmour. So everything I do is a ripoff.
Welcome to the metalcore world.
Yeah, wow.
One of the big sayings in my world of programming is that good programmers program and great programmers copy. And so when it comes to like building a system or using code to do something, don't reinvent the wheel every time you do it. If you got pieces of code that does that well, then just reuse that.
If it works, it works.
That's exactly right. So I would say that I probably ripped off the format idea.
Yeah.
Well, I was attracted to it probably because the same reason I was attracted to listening to it. In that I like the informal setting. I like people to be able to talk about whatever the hell's on their mind, that kind of thing. I just wanted to record my own conversations that way. So, I ripped them off. I ripped off the format for sure. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were saying that you were talking about, not, trying to figure out what your format and stuff was going to be.
Yeah, and pretty much just that, like, I would say that we have kind of like a mixture of all the things that we listen to, at least idea-wise. So we still got to, obviously, like you were saying, the first couple episodes, probably might be a little rough starting out, but we're going into it with an open mind and trying to get it molded into something that, we think people could enjoy.
Hey, man, you got to fucking start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Baby
and
steps.
no one else is starting somewhere. We're going to start right here where we're at,
Yeah.
And go grow from that.
Well, that's my biggest advice, because I've had several people, after finding out I have a podcast and asking me, hey, how do you start a podcast? And the best advice, I think the first thing I told you when you were talking about it was, you just got to hit the record button, man.
Exactly.
And if you don't like what you hear, change it and hit the record button again.
Yeah.
Like you just got, and most people just kind of get to the point where they envision doing something in their head, but they just, for whatever reason, they're terrified and can't hit the record button.
Nah, it is terrifying. I find that I do that shit with my guitar playing. I can't release anything I fucking record.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to, dude.
Because I just find it like, that's cliche. I've done that before. I've heard that before. That sounds too damn similar to something else.
Yeah.
So I'll always be like, try to steer away from the cliche.
There's a process of when you know you're doing something for the specific purpose of putting it in front of other people, where you, like you said, you get way more critical of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's really good for artists, and especially musicians, but any artists, to make sure that at least some part of what your work is, that you do so to do it publicly.
Yeah.
Because it makes you a better artist overall. But man, it sucks chewing them nails off, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I often find it's like, for example, the song that I sent you, Matt, like, I always tell everybody before I show it to them, like, oh, I've been working on this, but, it's just really cookie cutter stuff. But everyone that I show it to, they're like, oh, I like it. It sounds good. And just to me, I can't hear it. Maybe it's because I've been working on it so long, or you're your own worst critic,
Right.
something
that
along
same
those
fucking
lines.
song 10 years in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something I think that happens with a lot of musicians, and artists in particular, but especially musicians. For some reason, musicians forget that there's only so many notes in the scale, and there's only so many notes in any given key.
Yeah.
All right? So there's only so many ways you can aesthetically pleasing to the ear put music together. So when everybody's like, I'm trying to find my sound, man, no, you're not. Your sound has already been done. So what especially, like I said, this is especially true for musicians. I think the best thing to do is, instead of saying like, my stuff sounds too much like so and so, or sounds too much like, no, man, if that's what's turning you on, then express that.
Yeah.
No,
Okay?
absolutely, yeah.
Because somebody, no matter what you do in music, especially music, no matter what you do, somebody else has already done.
Yeah.
Period.
Possibly better or worse.
That's why it's so fascinating to me when, like, bands sue other bands saying you ripped off our work and you took our hook and stuff. Like, it's like, really?
Oh, like the fucking Zeppelin in the goddamn one band with Stairway.
You can't, I mean, because like I said, there's only so many ways you can arrange this stuff that it sounds as it's a mathematical thing.
Yeah,
okay.
It fits the fucking pattern. Like, if you start on that, like a fucking C major or whatever have you, your initial reaction, if you're playing, doing the 1-4-5 chord sequence, that's that fucking next line. It's next in line. It's just already there. It's already sounds good to the ear.
Yeah.
It's been discovered.
Well, that's and that's funny, because that's sort of an encapsulation inside that limitation, in the sense that the 1-4-5 chord progression also happens to fall within the 1, the 4, and the 5 inside the key.
Yeah.
But those happen to sound exceptionally good together, especially for certain types of music, So that's what I mean. Like, it's weird that, there's only so many ways this stuff can fit together. And a person that's never played a musical instrument will look at a keyboard and go, I wouldn't even know where to begin. And that's true. But what they don't understand is, as soon as there's a key assigned to the song, a portion of the keys on that keyboard become irrelevant. You don't use them. They go away. And then, like you're saying, right, if you're inside that 1-4-5 sort of progression, there's even more of a limitation there. So then the amount of notes you need to know shrinks dramatically, give it off of that instrument.
You just have to remember that scale.
You just got to know, right? You just got to know how to get to that scale. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think when they look at that instrument, it's just full of infinite possibility. No, really, it's not.
In a way to paint a picture, yes. But musically, nah.
I could take I could take a bunch of buckets of paint up on the roof of a building and throw them into a parking lot, and if I got really lucky, I'd paint the Mona Lisa.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not fucking likely to happen, right? And that's kind of the same thing. You can play whatever note you want. It doesn't mean it's going to fit.
Right.
I don't know how do we get on theory? Why are we talking about music theory? Anyway, back to the podcast.
I love tangents like that. See, that's why I want to do the fucking in the thought dump. I want to have those little tangents spin off because it just fucking confuses people really. It makes them like, what? Wait, what just happened? And then it makes them listen a little more. You should be paying attention, you know?
Yeah.
Think it makes them listen more?
Not really. In my mind, I want you to listen more.
Yeah. So what's so you guys are going to have guests, obviously.
Yep.
You're talking about doing that. What about doing stuff like location stuff? You ever consider that? That's getting to be a big deal now with like Kill Tony and stuff that's going on where they take podcasts into comedy clubs and that kind of thing. You giving that any consideration?
For me, the only traveling I've ever thought of is like to other people's houses, just because we don't have a spot like designated studio yet.
For sure. No, I've thought about it in big picture schemes. I've thought about taking it to Columbus, but that's after like a growing, of people want it. Because I'm not gonna fucking go do this shit for 5 people that don't want it. I'll just give you my audio, and you can listen to the podcast. You're those 12 people.
Yeah.
But
it's thankless, man. When you first start, it's thankless as hell, right? Because you'll put it out and you get like 7 downloads, but your friends will all tell you they listen to it and shit.
That's what I expect, though. I expect all my friends to fucking listen to it because they're interested in what you got to say, but only the first one.
Yeah. The funny thing is that when you put stuff like this out, people don't realize that you know exactly how many downloads it's had.
Yeah.
So when you go, hey, I put that podcast out. Did you get a chance? Oh yeah, it was cool. It was cool. And you're like, mm-hmm.
So what
I know the 3 people.
Were you?
Which of the 4 downloads were you? My first podcast.
Watching you motherfucker. You better hit that download button.
You just got to grin and go, thanks.
It's there for the people who want it, and there for the people who don't want it.
Yeah.
Either way, it'll be there.
It's an interesting dynamic because kind of how it works is you got to do more. You got to do them. You just got to keep doing them.
Yeah.
And you get better at like tagging things and learning how to socially share them and stuff like that. And once you kind of catch a rhythm, then it just kind of gets easy, and it happens. But the more of them that you have, the better, the faster you will gain an audience.
Right.
It's kind of interesting how it works. So you don't want to sacrifice quality for sure, but I mean, you guys do whatever you want.
See, that was another big fucking key thing was us coming into it and not knowing what content to bring to it, other than just what our interests were, what's on our thoughts, and how we're going to portray it, and obviously guests. Because the mainstream podcasters fucking have you Rogan, fucking Burr, all of them. They're comedians.
Yeah.
So
they're full-blown entertainers.
Yeah, they're entertainers already. So they have shit to promote, and they have like material to use, or they're good at it on the spot, whatever have you. We don't have that yet. All we have is some fucking amateur music and some good fucking phrases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. But guess what? It'll be good time.
No, I mean but you got to jump off the cliff, man. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And then what starts to happen is your audience and you sort of start to mold.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
The dream picture will be.
Yeah.
Is it all comes to fruition?
It'll change. You got to be okay with it changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back through this show and listen to some of the very first podcasts, we started off on like a weird conspiracy theory kind of bend with things like OR and all that kind of stuff.
I love that podcast, by the way.
It's really good. I mean, I've had a lot of people like, man, I never heard of that before.
That compelling shit though, grasps people.
Yeah.
I was into that. I was at work just into it. They're like, you got to speed up. I'm like, I'm focused on this conversation. But it was really cool stuff.
We ended up, because of that podcast, we ended up joining a group. There's a Facebook group for it, Orchestrated Objective Reduction.
Okay.
And Nikolai Zhinkov, and I've been dying to get him on the show, like to remote in.
Yeah.
But I've been because it was my partner Eric. It's Eric's subject. He knows it like inside now. He's a fascinating dude too. So I've been waiting until Eric's schedule like lightens up enough that I can line those guys up. But then he's like, I think he's in Germany.
Oh wow!
So there's a whole time zone shift. Yeah. We've done it before though, and that's the other thing that's really fascinating about doing this. Right? Is one of the things that happens is, I can put anybody on my show if I off my cell phone. I just plug them into the board.
Right.
So technically speaking, I could interview anybody anywhere in the world if I wanted to. So I ended up with people like from Australia. We had Muggsy, that rapper. He's like the Reverb Nation #1 rapper for Sydney, Australia. Boom, nice. He's on my podcast. It's like, how the hell is this happening, man? So it's fascinating. So, but that's what I mean. I started out in like this weird conspiracy theory, sort of ancient history stuff.
Yeah.
Ended up with like a shit ton of college professors and really cool authors and professionals on the show. Through Eric mostly,
well,
and then
people want to talk.
Well, you'd be amazed at how many people want to talk about themselves. Sure,
yeah. That ego, man, stroke it. You'll get some good content.
Yeah. Well, but yes, that's true. But and also there are a lot of really, really fascinating people in this world that people don't really take the time to slow down. Like because it's a very pop culture based society we live in, right? So I think that there's a wealth, kind of how this idea came about, right, was because I believe that there's a wealth of information and people out there, but there's just no platform for them.
Yeah.
And again, when I seen the convergence of, Joe Rogan and the boom of podcasting and stuff, and I went, man, I know a lot of really interesting people.
Right, yeah.
And had no idea, though, that I was going to meet even more fascinating and interesting people to talk to. So was the nexus of this, was just and then other than that, I didn't really have a plan.
Yeah.
I think that's the fucking essence. You just summed it up perfectly for why we want to do it as well.
Yeah.
That conversation that you don't get anymore unless it's you're on your goddamn technology.
Yeah.
You're on your phone, you're on your goddamn computer, whatever have you. That's where you get it now. You don't get it from in the room now.
Yeah,
we're doing it on mics because that's different. But that you just summed it up pretty well.
It's perfect though. A medium though to kind of because you can't be censored.
It forces it too in a way.
We figured out when we first started doing this that once you got past the 15 to 25 minute mark with somebody, you almost have to with somebody to get them to finally start to kind of open up and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't. You guys are familiar because you've been doing you've been doing podcasts and working on your show and everything, getting ready for your launch. So you get past that. There's a microphone in front of me.
Yeah.
That was the first 2 or 3 were fucking tricky.
Yeah.
And when you first start hearing yourself through headphones,
it's
it messes with people. But once you do this enough, or especially if you've been a musician and played in bands and stuff, you kind of get used to hearing yourself through monitors and things like that, right? Yeah. But you remember the first time you heard your voice recorded and played back to you?
Could not fucking believe it was my voice.
Yeah, you don't think it's yourself, right?
I was like 16 when that shit happened.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So a lot of times when you put people on, the people, my guess especially, a lot of times when they come on the show, it's the first time they've ever done anything like this.
They got to put their headphones on and hear themselves like, oh God.
So then, the microphone starts to become very intimidating, and then they start backing up away from it.
No, it does.
It's like, no, you got to get closer to the mic, okay?
Got to be able to fucking hear you guys, man.
But it's interesting to watch somebody go through that transition of being like, okay, this is all so foreign to me and weird, and then the mic and the headphones eventually melt away and disappear.
Yeah, it's that goddamn AI merging with human life.
It does what it is, though. And then people open up and just start telling you shit, man. It's awesome. I love it.
No, it's great. That's why we want to do it too with multiple people.
Yeah,
have just keep that conversation flow about random things. Aliens, love them.
Oh, Ancient Aliens is like one of my favorite shows.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Catherine Kaufman, big shout out to Catherine Kaufman for introducing me to an audience I didn't know I had, which was people that were really interested in the paranormal.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I love that stuff. When she was telling that story, what was it? They were investigating the house or whatever, and she saw that doppelganger.
Yeah,
that shit made the hair on my neck stand up. I was like.
That is exactly verbatim. Every person that's heard that story has said the exact same thing. When she said that, she said people were like, the hair stood up on the back of my neck. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Fucking adrenaline dump, man.
Yeah, I know. I got this weird thing. Like, I mean, obviously, I'm not the only person that does it, but like, that's why I love stories so much. Because when like I hear it and stuff like that, I put the image in my own head and I imagine it if I was there and how I would have saw it through my own eyes. So if I would have saw a doppelganger, I'd be like, shit, you know, because I'm into all that spooky shit. I love ghosts. I love horror movies.
So you're saying you're empathetic when you hear a story or something like that. You're empathetic. To you feel what other people are kind of feeling in that situation.
Yeah, even if it's not like, you know, something like a, you know, ghost story or something like that. Even just like everyday life, if someone's having a hard time, it bums me out a little bit, you know.
Right. So do you do scary movies and shit too?
Oh yeah, I love them. Short horror stories and stuff. No Sleep podcast. I love all that shit.
Yeah, the No Sleep is pretty fucking dope.
Oh, introduce me. I don't know what this is.
No Sleep podcast?
I've never heard of it.
Spill it out, Kenny.
Well, it's just like what is it? Canadian? I think it's this Canadian dude. His name's David Cummins, and
at least you knew the name.
Yeah, he's got this like group. They have a whole sound editor dude and everything. So it's like a short story, like three to four per episode, and you could even buy like a season pass to get even more content, like 2-hour episodes. But
also he's doing like a patron type thing.
Yeah. But he does also put out like an hour and a half of the free stuff, which is also good. And so
it makes you want to buy that fucking season pass.
And what he does is like they will have like authors from all over the world like contribute their stories, and they get all the rights to it and everything. And you know, he'll plug them on the podcast, and he'll even have them come in to do some like voice acting and stuff like that. So they have multiple actors on episodes. It's got its own soundtrack, so it like really puts you in the zone. And you know, I love all that kind of stuff. It's really cool.
Sounds it's highly produced.
Oh,
this is something that they've done a lot of work on.
It's very theatrical.
Yeah, I think they're on season 10 or 11 right now.
I love that.
It's like they have a story, and they play that story, and they're all different voice actors.
Yeah.
And
so like an old time radio show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like an old time serial radio show.
And she'll act it out. I'm so scared right now, type of shit.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it'll have like that real like
the dwong in the backgrounds and shit.
Like the real, what is it, ambiance and stuff, like that low background shit that'll like really creep in there.
Messes with your head, huh?
Yeah. There's some.
It kills a fucking 12-hour workday.
Oh
Does
yeah,
it?
yeah. There's some
episodes.
stories on there that like I started listening to that. What, probably 3 years ago?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, there's still some stories from then that I remember like off the top of my head, just because how, you know, they resonated with me well. Like I feel like it's, if I was writing a story, I would make that kind of story, you know what I'm saying? Or it's just really well written. I love it.
It's like amateur professional type shit. Like right on the subs, you know, right by professional, but they have like amateur stories.
Yeah.
Some stories get kind of but they do wrap up pretty well, and most of them have really good outcomes.
Yeah, but also I do think that's like personal preference too. Like a story that you might think falls a little flat, someone else could be like, "Man,
that was big." Yeah,
that was huge.
Right.
That's kind of the thing with why with doing the rule of thumb with doing podcasts, by the way, is that you want to specialize. Everything I've seen, every documentary, every person, once you get into it, you start getting inundated with information, and there's two interesting dynamics that are starting to happen right now, but everybody will tell you that you need to specialize. So the podcasts that do the best are the podcasts that are about the most specific type of subjects. So that's why you see so many like BJJ podcasts, or you see so many. They're about very specific subjects, and that's what you want to like pick an audience and focus like a laser beam on that, right? But the other thing is that, some of this stuff is sort of ad hoc.
Fucking technical difficulties.
He's pulling my microphones out.
Bitch up. There we go.
So the other dynamic is that one of the things I made, I don't know if this was a mistake or not, but I'm going to call it a mistake, was I joined a lot of the podcasting groups on social media, and was just inundated with promoters, that are going to guarantee all of this kind of stuff. And I don't know what that they do that I don't already do. I haven't found one person yet, that's able to do anything that you can't just do for yourself. especially if you go through the professional podcasting services like Podbean.
Okay.
Man, it's just a layup. It's so much easier. They make it so easy. But yeah. So conversely speaking, I do a variety show, and what you kind of guys are talking about doing is a variety show. So this is like the most advised against format to do a podcast about. By the way,
that's why I want to do it even more.
Yeah.
Right. don't tell me what to do.
You say no, I'm going to say I'm going to do it then.
And I also think it works for me because I'm not a specialist in anything. So
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
Jack off of all trades.
This guy.
You picked your partner, huh?
Yeah.
You can't pick who you pick, man. It's just fate. Rely on it.
So you don't. You guys are getting ready to record this one. There's not one in the can, so to speak. You're gonna be recording and publishing here coming up soon.
Yeah, we're actually recording the first official one tonight after we leave here. So.
Oh, I'm your warm up act.
Yeah. Absolutely,
that's
man.
awesome.
It's gonna be a good time. I'm gonna drink more.
Yeah.
We're gonna see where it leads us.
Yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, right? You just sit here and gab for an hour or whatever. Are you going to stick to any kind of like time format or any kind of formatting at all? Or are you just going to leave it extremely open-ended?
Our burners, they usually run about an hour and 10 to hour and a half. So I think that would be a good time frame as long as we're being interesting, you know?
Now your burners, we're not talking about we're talking about shows that your practice shows kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, we've done this for like a month.
Yeah,
month and a half.
I think we got like six burner
hours.
podcasts.
Yeah.
So and then we're finally going to do the official one.
Yeah.
So do you guys think that doing the like the warm up podcasts and stuff, do you think that helped you?
Yeah,
tremendously.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like navigating around how to set everything up, because when we first started on the burners, how long did it take us? Like half hour, 40 minutes just to get shit going?
It took like 45 minutes to get the setup right.
Yeah.
It took 30 minutes to get the mics working.
Yeah.
So then we were like, all right, fuck it. We'll do it the next week.
Yeah.
And we tried to do it this time. And then we were shaky on talking and conversating, and we were doing this type of shit with the mic backing away from it.
Right.
Yeah.
But then we just get more accustomed to it. More
Yeah.
experience, man. Fucking do it. And it'll grow on you.
It's attainable. It's attainable. Now you guys are going. You went out and bought some equipment, right? I mean, you're for real about this.
I think I'm like $1,300 in right now.
Okay.
Like buying equipment, got a mixer, obviously got a whole new laptop just for it. You know, we just got our what are these suspension mic arms?
Yep.
Yeah, we just got those like 2 weeks ago. Obviously we just got some headphones last week, pop filters, you know.
Yep.
So I remember you said like to not put out bad sound quality at least, so I knew I could handle that right up front.
Right.
You know,
it's
try
going
to
to be
get a good
shit
sound.
material. It's going to be good ass quality.
Yeah.
You're going to hear the shit material
Right.
so clearly. I love it. No, it's for real, and when you listen to a lot of podcasts, 50% of them are, and this is possible.
Shit material.
Well, the audio production is because I mean, if you can make an MP3, you can make a podcast. That's kind of what it boils down to. So that's a pretty wide strike zone, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To get one over the plate.
Yeah.
But the big differentiator is production quality and then content and things like that. So the easiest thing to do was, in my opinion, was if you want to start a podcast and start picking up subscribers, then don't put out an awful sounding podcast.
Yeah.
You know, the material will come in as you do it, you know, as you get more familiar.
Grow,
yeah, you just sort of get comfortable with it, and then it just becomes part of what you do. Like, there's never a point now that I'm not interviewing people.
Yeah.
So that way it becomes natural to you in essence, yeah.
Because I'm just genuinely interested in people. It's not like I'm out doing it, you know, to be a jerk or whatever. But I'm just, you know, I'm never not talking to people that way. I'm always doing it.
Hopefully you don't talk to the girl you're about to pick up.
Well, I'm married.
Yeah,
that would. No, I'm all set there. Thanks.
Trying to get you in trouble.
My bad.
But to be honest with you, to your point, having the gift of gab definitely helps, pick up chicks. There's no doubt about it.
For sure.
My wife is way, way, way out of my class.
Yeah.
Way out. But
you can talk.
But I was a salesman, right? So I can, bullshitted my way right straight into a.
That's how I feel about it. I was a salesman for a year. That allowed me to have the confidence enough to get the wordings right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is not public speaking, but in a sense it is.
Yeah.
In a weird sort of way it is. Sure.
Yeah, for me, it's really weird. I know that, the public obviously is going to hear, our podcast, this podcast and everything. And I've always had an issue being, the center of attention, being out in front of, like, when we were playing music and stuff.
But that's what makes us artists, man.
Like, my first show that I played was at the Al Rosa.
Oh, no kidding. What a way to start.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going
Well,
into
put some context around that, because not everybody's going to understand what the significance
Where Dimebag got shot.
Yeah, pretty much. But, it was my first time ever playing, music in front of a crowd at the Al Rosa. It's something I heard about, when I was coming up through, like, 9th grade, 10th grade, all through high school and stuff like that. So it was, like, a big deal to me, seeing bands that I looked up to playing there and stuff.
Right.
And we had this show coming up. It was supposed to be in Lancaster at a bar or something, but the weather ended up getting really bad, and so they had to cancel the show. And I'm like, all right, cool, that gives me more time to prepare. Then they hit me with, the next show is going to be at the Al Rosa. And I'm like, you got to be shitting me right now, And it was my first time being up on, like, an actual stage, looking down at people who I don't know.
It's a good 3 foot off the
Yeah, and I'm just terrified. Most of the time, I'm just looking down at my hands playing. I even did the whole thing, where you fuck up in the middle of the song, and I stopped, and they're like, no, keep going.
Just go.
But yeah, everybody was still really supportive afterwards. Yeah. But I've always struggled with, like, being the center of attention. So that's where I kind of like doing this. It kind of would, like, get me built up with getting my voice out there, hearing feedback from people, and then eventually being out in front of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because eventually, like we talked about last time, I would like to try to get up, sometime at an open mic sometime.
Yeah.
Try that out, because Brandon always tells me, you should try to be a comedian and all this. I don't see it, but if other people can.
But you got the chops, motherfucker. You crack nuts all day, every day.
Yeah,
and you've done it since you were like 12. So you got it in your head. You just got to know how to formulate it and fucking give it to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean... The people I grew up with in Buckeye Lake, like, that's all we did. That was how, basically how we showed love to each other.
Yeah.
Just roast each other all day long. And then, like, when I first met Brandon and stuff, he was like, hey, that's a little strong. And I'm like,
I didn't grow up like that.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not trying to. That's just how I show love to my friends,
Leave my mom alone.
I always tell them, like, if I'm not.
I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah,
but.
like, if I'm not busting your nuts.
Then something's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, or I'm not comfortable with you yet,
Yeah. Well, it's very much like that in the military, too.
Yeah.
The first year it grows on
any fraternal, like military, police, firefighters are like that a lot. Imagine that.
Yeah. I can imagine Carl at the fire department roasting people.
No, just imagine something that's already stressful. You got to learn. We're going to bust your fucking nuts while you learn it.
Yeah.
So this is kind of for you, this is a journey then. You're looking, this is not an ends, but just a continuation of eventually wanting to move on into possibly doing stand-up and some other things as well.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really weird because I would say this is probably... within the past couple of years, the first time in my life that I'm actually thinking about the future, not just taking it like a day at a time.
Right.
I'm trying to set it up for, future success or failure. I mean, I have to fail to learn,
That's right.
So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to growing. Me and Brandon were actually talking about that on the way here, because we know some people that are just kind of stuck in their tracks, just sitting there spinning the wheels.
Just static. They ain't moving. They ain't doing nothing productive. Yeah. Everybody does their 40 hours. You got to do more.
Yeah.
If you want to be more and do more.
So this is taking an opportunity to change it up a little bit and throw something different in and try something new.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's just something that everybody needs to do eventually, whether obviously it be get in jiu-jitsu, pick up new hobbies.
Yeah.
Because a few years ago when I was just stuck in that static state, I was going crazy.
Yeah.
It's like I was getting cabin fever and I wasn't even stuck inside, I was going crazy. It just wasn't good all around.
Like crazy inside your own self. Huh?
Yeah, like I feel like a completely different person nowadays. as to, you know, compared to back then.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that, you know, because I'm much happier now, and I'm more confident to take bigger chances on things, you know.
Yeah.
The positive brings in the positive, man. The negative fucking brings in the negative.
Yeah.
I was telling you that goddamn experiment. You've heard of this shit, haven't you? Where they had the water molecule and they tell it, "I love you." You're great.
Right.
Yeah,
they do it with plants and stuff
it's
too.
beautiful. Yeah. It becomes out beautiful.
Yeah.
And they do it with the other one and they say, "I hate you" and shit like that. And it comes out all distorted and disfigured and stuff. Your fucking energy matters. That's proof right there.
Well, it definitely does, man. So what is it? What about for you? Is this just part of a process for you, or is it something like an ends for you? Where do you see yourself in all of this?
Nah, it's all a growing thing. Do this, it might lead to something else.
Yeah,
that's all I'm about doing. Creatively too. I love guitar and shit, but that hasn't brought me much. You know, whatever. Anything, anything. But I still do it because I enjoy it. So I do this because I enjoy it, and obviously I would like the medium to lead me towards something where I can just focus on that and do it 100% of the time, not have a 9 to 5, things like that. But ultimately, it's a growing thing. I'm gonna continue to do all artsy shit and see which one I like the most. I really do enjoy podcasting, because talking with people and getting conversation going is something I've never been able to do without a mic in my fucking face, for some reason. Also with music, you know, I love that shit. I would like to get back in bands and do shows again, but the time doesn't really call for that anymore. So we'll just stick to recording and stick out what I can stick out there. But I also want it to have a professional quality. I'm not going to release anything mediocre. That's why I don't do anything mediocre. And the videos I do on Instagram sometimes, those are the mediocre shit I don't want to do.
Right.
I feel like I have to release something.
Yeah.
I have to get myself out there somehow, just because I feel that's what I should be doing.
It's like with anything else an artist does. I think to do this and do it well, it's the same thing in that you have to, you know, you have to put a piece of yourself into it, or it's not legit, right? It's not real, and people can smell that a mile away now.
Yeah, for sure.
But every single, as long as I don't know that you have to have a like a format even or anything of any kind of specific nature. I think if you are genuine. And
that's what we try to be.
Then it just works. So the people there's just people that are going to find you interesting, and so you put these out there, and they just sort of float around, and every now and then it bumps into a person that's like, "Hey, this guy's interesting," you know, and then you just accumulate an audience that way. It's more like a giant net than it is like a specific focus or whatever, right?
It's a good way to look at it.
It's a hell of a way to tribe up, man, because you find people that tend to resonate with the same shit you resonate with. Those are the people that follow you.
Yeah.
Plus, we get to do shit like this, like another person's podcast.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have been able to do that had we not, like,
for real,
gone about the process of starting our own, doing our own thing, because honestly, there's no fucking reason to if we didn't have our own things going and we weren't trying our own thing.
Yeah.
And I will say that you helped us get started, you know, because I mean we've talked about starting a podcast before and stuff like that
for like a year solid.
But had I not met you and came on your show and you giving me that initial push, you know, like maybe a week or two after I did your podcast, that's when I started shelling out the money to buy this shit. So I was looking at it as, you know, I have some sort of support from Matt and you're willing to help us through, you know,
absolutely.
And you know, and I also looked at it as, if I start shelling out the money for this shit, then I have to try, or else it's a waste. You know, it's
you burnt the boat
for sure, man.
Yeah, was it Columbus or somebody that when they got to the new land, they burnt the ships or wherever it was, and it was like, we ain't going back, bitches. You better make this work.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It was probably the Indians they tried to capture. Like, you ain't going back, troops, bitch. We see what you do with them goddamn muskets.
So that, I mean, once you got kind of some skin in the game, then it becomes real.
Yeah.
But then you start playing with it too, and it's like, oh, okay, wait a minute, I think I can pull this off, right?
Yeah. And plus, like when I was ordering all that shit, it was just way over my head, you know. So I'm like, I'm glad Brandon went to school for some of this shit at least. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I got it made, man, because the same thing with me is I had Eric.
Yeah.
Who is like a trained sound engineer.
Well, that's fucking convenient.
That's why I'm like doing this, you know, like I couldn't, you know, there was no reason for me not to, because, and the having him involved was a quantum leap in quality, man, to learn, you know, because he taught me there's simple things, that you can do, and they don't cost necessarily a ton of money. But the difference between $100 and $1,300 is night and day
Absolutely.
in this world.
It motivated everything to go forward even faster.
We got up this morning. The wife and I got up this morning. We ran out we had to go get some stuff, some supplies. So we went to Walmart, and I was grabbing a gaming mouse pad.
Okay.
Because I'm like addicted to Overwatch right now. Okay, it's awful. I'm even putting videos up on Facebook. That's how sad I am.
Get a Twitch account.
And so I was going up and down the aisles of like where they have their computers and stuff like that, and they have Yeti mics for sale at Walmart. And I was looking, I was like, that's $114 because I'm pretty certain that's a condenser mic. Yeah. So that's a decent sound quality microphone. So, like with Podbean, I don't know why I'm doing like promos for Podbean, but let's do a promo for Podbean. So like with Podbean, the Podbean application that you download onto your phone is all you need and a microphone. That's it.
Then you got a podcast going,
and you can even have intro music.
All right.
You can like upload an MP3. So So for like guys like us, right, we could go into GarageBand, kind of arrange something, create an MP3. It's up on Podbean. You're recording and publishing on Podbean, and Podbean pushes to iTunes and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
You still have to have an iTunes account, but nonetheless, the point being is that for a $114 Yeti mic, you can have a fairly decent sounding podcast up and running in like a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's crazy how attainable it is now. So as a medium, I think we're like the first ships to the new country. It's the beginning.
Which is another reason to do it. It's the beginning. If you can do it, if you want to do it, if you feel like you should, then fucking try. Because you're in the cusp of the wave.
There's a wave happening. Sure. Yeah. And I mean, there's going to be a lot that's going to come, and I think it's going to be just like that social media thing when Facebook sort of and Twitter and stuff sort of started out. A lot of people were of the mind of, why would I put my shit out there in public, right?
Yeah.
Now we're on everybody stop putting your shit out there in public into that spectrum. Like we're completely on the other, and you can watch how that sort of got ingrained in society. So I think we're still in the front end of probably the 10-year boom of that. We're probably not even in year one really yet of how big it can be.
Getting there.
It is a fun medium though, man. It's a lot of fun to do. I'm glad you guys are deciding to take off on that journey. Now, are you a BJJ guy too?
I did do it, but I got 2 beers deep and I can't talk. Had a kid.
Yeah.
Had a kid, and that stumbled all my plans for BJJ for the time being. But obviously she's older now, and I can go back. But 2 jobs now stifled my goddamn plan to go do jiu-jitsu.
It's funny. It never ends, does it? You just start chasing that cycle.
Yeah.
No, but I enjoy it. I plan on getting back, but this is after I get a new house and after the second job is gone. Then I'll have more free time.
I couldn't remember. I know I met you at the gym, Kenny, but I couldn't remember I don't think I met you at the gym.
I've been gone for like a year.
Yeah, I think he went maybe once or twice the whole time I was going.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, I did it for like a year.
Yeah, before that.
Before he went.
Yeah.
How many shows we've done? I think I gotta like write John a check or something. Between you and Anthony and like all these different shows that we've done, because of people from the gym. Like so.
He's touching people, man. He's touching them, but not in the wrong way.
Yeah.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
He's got a good thing going there, man. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, it's 100% addicting and too much fun to stop going permanently.
Yeah.
Once you start doing, that's why I keep telling Kenny, like, let's get some fucking mats at the house and we'll roll.
Well, there. Yeah, for sure. It would be.
But
better
nothing
than
beats
nothing,
the environment.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy. It's such a cool place.
Yeah. Even though I haven't been there for a while, I still think about it constantly. Still talk about it constantly.
Yeah, well, generally, any place you've been mugged repeatedly tends to leave a lasting impression in your brain, right?
Choked, I puked and pissed there.
Strangled.
Not good, man.
It's strange. I know. I told my wife the same thing. I said, I don't know when I'll get to do this because I travel weird schedules and stuff like that. But I know I'm going to do it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
As long as you're able to.
When you travel and stuff, do you try to check out local gyms that are there?
Yeah. I've just started friending up with all of them on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
So that I can, I was just in Jacksonville, and there's one in Jacksonville. We were working like 13 to 17-hour days in Jacksonville. So even if I could have gotten the stars to align, and I would have been just spent, man.
Yeah.
I mean, because when I go out in the field, I don't go out in the field and, sit in a chair all day. I go out in the field and I'm climbing mezzanines and ducking conveyor. Like I'm humping up and like literally climbing up and down ladders constantly. So I lose weight when I go out on the road. Yeah, it's crazy. Generally about 4 pounds, but it keeps me fit.
Yeah,
it helps keep me fit.
Keeps you fresh for jiu-jitsu when you can't get by.
Before I changed my eating habits, I used to do that shit at 264 pounds.
Damn.
And now I was in my 30s, and it wasn't terrible, but then it started really grinding on me, man. So when I shedding the weight now, I used to carry like another dude around and do this,
Yeah, calves must be tight, man.
Oh, dude, it's easy now. I feel like I'm on springs, like boing, boing, like I can go. You want me to run up there? I'll climb that fucking ladder and get it out of my way. Yeah, it's a whole different thing now.
I saw this picture of me the other day. I think it might have been yesterday, and I never really had a picture of me when I was at my heaviest. I'm 5'3", heaviest I was 260.
Is that the shit you sent me earlier?
Yeah, that Batman. Yeah.
Shit.
Like I was just cruising through one of my buddy's old pictures on Instagram, and I saw a picture of me, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm still way bigger than I want to be, but I saw the progress finally that I came from.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Without tooting my own horn, I was proud of myself because I've never been highly motivated to get out there and be active or anything.
Right.
And that's what I love about jiu-jitsu is that it's fun enough for me to go out there because I'm not a weightlifting guy. I've been doing the DDP yoga recently.
Yep.
It's been my core's been getting a little stronger, so I've been getting a little bit more toned. But when I see that kind of weight loss stuff, it gives me even more motivation to keep going.
Now explain what that DDP yoga is, because you obviously we know what it is because we watch Joe Rogan.
It's a double deep penetration.
Yeah.
That's what's gave me so much.
And that tones your core.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I'm tightening up all the time. But anyways, it's see, I've not done traditional type yoga.
Okay.
But from what I understand, it's not too hard. It's mostly focusing on balance and stuff like that. But this it uses body resistance and body weight dynamic resistance type stuff. So you do Bruce Lee style punches, but you're putting your own resistance into it, and you do that from a warrior lunge position.
Well, the guy that started it was a wrestler or something.
Yeah, Diamond Dallas Page. Yeah, I think he said he started wrestling in his 30s, mid 30s or something like that. And all these workouts on this DVD, he'll give you an intro to how it specifically helped him out, and he will have real life people that got results from the program on the show. So it's it's not bullshit. I haven't been tracking my weight per se, but I've noticed physical changes from it. As far as just looking at myself. So, and it helps you with your eating habits. It gives you foods you can not can and can't eat. You can do whatever the hell you want, but what you should, what you should and shouldn't eat.
Advice.
Yeah, stuff like that. And I think, following that really helped me a lot. And I've had people telling me oh, it don't really matter what you eat. It matters the calories that you're taking in. And I'm like, but you're looking at all these preservatives, all this extra sugar that you don't need.
Chemical shit storm.
Yeah,
right?
and that
yes.
That's bad, inflammation and all that shit. And I just turned 29 this month, and I got arthritis in my back.
Wow.
So I really got to start focusing on my health a lot more. And, what you were saying earlier about, weighing 260 in your 30s and all that and how it's coming down, that's something I've been thinking about a lot more. I don't want to have a heart attack in my 30s from not taking care of myself, and yeah, I mean, it's just hard to think about that kind of shit. You're not young anymore. And
I think I was 34 when I saw the cardiologist the first time, because I actually have a heart condition called atrial fibrillation.
Oh, okay.
I've heard of that shit. But
I have not.
It's very, very like extremely mild, but it gets worse if I have like coffee,
Okay.
caffeine.
anything that speeds you up.
Yeah, I have no. I'm not a stimulants guy.
Oh, okay.
Can't. I don't touch any of them. And but this woman made fun of me because I had to take a non-stress test, which is which is a weird name for a test that tries to kill you.
Yeah.
By stressing you to the point of dying. I don't
Wow.
know what the point of it was, but that's what I had to do. And part of that was like running on this treadmill. As they continue to raise the incline, like from that Rocky movie, you know.
Yeah.
Only I'm a big fat bastard on this thing running, and I got this little. She was Indian, like from India, Indian doctor, just roasting me.
I know 45-year-olds that are, that can do this. You're in such terrible shape.
Like just giving me grief about,
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm just like sweat's pouring off of me, and she's just roasting the shit out of me as I'm. And then they like slam me on a table, and then you got to exhale all the air out of your lungs, and then hold it.
Damn.
After you get off this treadmill. That's what I mean. They call it a non-stress test. I'm like, is that like to fool people?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
Or just to fuck with them.
Yeah.
What the hell? It's a non-stress test. This
Yeah.
will be easy. You know?
Yeah.
What the point of it is to stress you the fuck out.
Dude, that was like 34. Yeah, where it was like, wait a minute, man, something. This ain't right. Like
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be visiting cardio, and it creeps up on you. It happens.
Oh, yeah.
And then boom, it's like it's happening to you. So yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
What, we're fucking 10 years out of high school? You're like
Yeah.
11, maybe you're like 2 years more than me.
Yeah, I'm like 12, something like that. 12 or
Right.
13.
We ain't even that far out of high school, and this motherfucker's already thinking of that problem. That has me so sad sometimes.
I mean,
But either way, we're doing more things to maintain
Yeah.
it and progress for
Yeah.
it. So
yeah.
Well, becoming conscious of it.
Yeah.
is a big,
Yeah,
is a
that's
big
huge.
piece. Of
Yeah,
it.
that's what I'm thinking. Is like being more realistic
Yeah.
about things. Because when you're young, you have that thought in your head like you're invincible. Nothing's gonna happen to
Right.
you. You know.
for sure. That's why you do backflips
10
off of
feet
dumb
tall
shit
and bulletproof.
Yeah,
fuck
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah. And I was
You're not.
yeah.
You're not.
And I think I
Nobody
was
is.
thought of it a little differently growing up because I had a whole list of health problems when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I never really thought about death and stuff like that because I lived through all that stuff. I was born premature, like 3 months or something like that. I was
Just couldn't wait to
undercooked.
get at it, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. And I was like 6 or something. So I was born with one hip even. Ended up growing in by the time I was 6. So once they told me like I could start playing sports, t-ball and shit like that, I was in. I wasn't,
Right.
and I wasn't even thinking of any of that health stuff. But my parents, they were just so scared. Treat me like I was so fragile.
Because you were born fragile.
Yeah, exactly. But I've noticed like growing up and stuff is like I've always been intimidated by physical contact and stuff like that, like tackle football, stuff like that. But I realized when I'm in those situations and I finally face it, it don't hurt as bad as I thought it was going to initially. But now I'm finally at the point where, getting older, I'm a heavy set guy.
Right.
On my mom's side of the family, her parents, died in their mid 60s. So I'm looking at it like
Staring down the genetic bullet there a little
yeah,
bit.
exactly. And that I wanted to try whatever you want to do, 23andMe, the ancestry
Yep,
stuff.
yep.
Even though there's that whole controversy, sending your DNA to the government or whatever.
Huh? Don't give your DNA
Yeah,
to the
exactly.
internet.
But
Yeah.
what I thought was cool about that is like that they tell you all your genetic stuff, like
Yeah.
things that you're susceptible to.
Yeah.
And I was always curious about that because if my, on my mom's side of the family, if my grandparents are dying, mid 60s, I still feel that's kind of a little earlier in life as mid 60s going
Right.
out. And
Right.
I've always been a little worried if I'm going to catch some of that. And if I could take this test and be able to catch it before something bad happens,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that we got to get this. And by the way, that DNA testing stuff is still continuing to evolve.
Yeah.
Even past where it's at. what they can already tell you is just like the tip of the iceberg of what would be available for information. They just haven't sorted it out yet.
The more people that get it done, the more info they got to gather.
Yeah,
because the cause.
Because what they've done is the way that it isn't like, I'm trying to think how to explain this, because my buddy had it done too. And he found out he has more Neanderthal genes than it's Eric. It's the guy who's on the show all the time. Yeah, he's got
more
like
ape than man.
Than like 99% of the population of the world. He's more caveman than 99%.
Yeah.
And so what they do is, so when they first started doing this, they would send, and I think you could still do the questionnaires. They'll like send you questionnaires and things, and they just ask you questions about, like, you know, do you have any degenerative diseases? Do you have any of this? Do you have any of that? And then they look for correlation in the code. So they just do like a cross-reference. Like, okay, all the people that said they have this weird exception, or this weird cluster of exceptions or whatever in their genes. So then they start finding that causality that way by going. So the more people that participate in it and participate in the questionnaires, the more diseases and predictors they'll be able to determine. They can already build a fairly accurate, like, police crime photo from just your DNA now. Like, they can tell.
I don't think I like that too much.
They can tell what color your hair is, what color your eyes are, like things like how tall you are. I think whether you have a propensity to be left or right-handed. Like,
well, we're all living in a fucking simulation anyway, so they can re-image you how they see fit.
Or are we just now creating the simulation that we're all eventually going to live in? And it's just a cycle, right?
That could
we just
be the process too, man. See, you don't know though because you're in the simulation.
Yeah, you see, but
you need that matrix effect. You're plugged in.
But yeah, for sure, man. I mean, like, the biggest trick for me was like, for me, it's like you said, the chemical shit storm, right? So just eating foods that are
real food.
Yeah, that are more closely to what they started off as.
Right.
You know, they're like, there's a big difference between, you know, like a potato chip and a Cheeto.
Yeah.
You know, or that's a bad example because one's made out of corn, one's made out of potato. But you get my point. Like, the more processed it is, the more times it's been cooked or whatever, or the more times removed.
Food is out of it, man.
Yeah, the less nutritious it tends to, wholly nutritious it tends to be. So focusing on things that are whole foods is man, I couldn't believe just from doing that, like getting rid of the sugar and just starting to eat real foods for a week.
Feel so much healthier.
Like, man, if I eat sugar now, my body's like, what the fuck, dude, are you doing to me?
Shut down.
I get pissed. Yeah, it's like, nope, throws a temper tantrum. But I think I felt that way all the time before, like that sluggishness, that kind of draggy feeling, right? Because when I started doing this, a weird thing also started happening in that I go to sleep and I go immediately to sleep. Yeah. And then my eyes just open 4 to 6 hours later and I'm completely rested.
Yeah.
Right.
Every day. And I was the kind of guy that had 5 alarms at one point in time. So that's another weird thing. When I started eating whole foods, it's like my energy levels changed dramatically. So
right, you know.
I developed
did
this
the same thing, yeah.
It's weird because now I can, if I know I have to get up at a certain time, like catch a flight or whatever, I have this thing where I always wake up now like a minute to 2 minutes before my alarm goes off.
Yeah, it's that circadian rhythm shit.
It's fucking bizarre. Like, I just know.
Do something so many times, I'll automatically do it.
Well, no. What I'm saying is that if it's not the same time. Like, if I know I have to get up at 4 a.m. to get to the airport,
before your alarm.
And I know I'm in a different time zone, like in a hotel. My eyes will just open and I'll look at my. It happens all the time, and I set my alarm off before it even goes off. And I'm like dead asleep, and then boink, I just wake up. It's bizarre. But I had a great uncle that told me he used to do that, and I was like, "What are you talking about? That's impossible, right?" And
called responsibility.
Well, I think it has something to do with being older too, but it's definitely got a lot to do with the food and shit. Because before then, I would wake up exhausted.
Yeah, and I think your point to it being the food also is good because I've actually been recently doing that as well, waking up just a couple minutes before my alarm, and I've recently changed my diet.
Yeah, so you're feeling rested now.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, man, because a higher energy level, feeling rested raises your daily energy level, and a raise in your daily energy level means you burn more calories, which means you tend to trend towards a more balanced.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
you're getting everything you need to get in the day, or more than you were, at least.
It's funny because it's so attainable. I didn't realize how it's not hard. It's not the step 1, eating whole food. Step 2, eat within like an 8 to 10 hour window.
Yeah.
And then like shit just starts fixing itself. And then the last piece was eat the body type. Eat for the body type you want.
Yeah.
Because if you want to be lean, thick, dense muscle mass, then you got to cram in, a lot of protein. And most people don't eat near enough protein that are working out. That I know.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit, I had to like increase my protein intake by like 4 times per the amount I was consuming per day.
Damn.
Yeah, because the rule of thumb, I guess, is that you want to have, if you're like wanting to be a weightlifter, like a bodybuilder,
right?
It's 1 gram of protein per day per pound of desired body weight.
What?
So if you want to be like a huge 200, 215 pound bodybuilder, they're talking about while you're working out, like eating 200 to 215 grams of protein per day.
How many pounds does that fucking equate to?
Well, there's 12, 16 grams in an ounce,
30,
right?
30,
and how many? So
32.
Yeah. Do the math. Carry the 1. It's a lot.
It's
a lot. If you were doing that without supplementing,
buy the cow. Damn.
You're looking at like a dozen eggs a day.
Damn.
Worth of protein.
Right.
Something like that, I think, if I'm doing the math right. Okay. It's a lot. That's what I mean. It's a lot more than people think it is. It's not. So the conversely, if you want to just have like if you're like CrossFit and doing that kind of stuff, you're talking like 0.8 to 1 grams of protein per day per pound of body weight. It's like, Jesus. I couldn't, I mean, if now I supplement that, right? I do the protein shakes. Okay. That's how you do it. It's no way. I mean, it's like 4 chicken breasts or 12 eggs. That's all you do would be eat. And then you would have to eat, nothing but protein. So it's not obvious, but you do that. You flip your food pyramid and put the starches and carbohydrates down at the bottom, and put the proteins and vegetables up at the top. Your body just will start reshaping itself off of what you already do for exercise. You don't even have to you don't even have to exercise. Like go to the gym and pump to get. Your body will go, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now.
Start reacting differently.
But
to
if you,
those things.
that's that saying, you can't out-train a bad diet.
Yeah.
And man, that I didn't realize how true that really is, man. No, really, you can't it doesn't matter how many curls you do. If you're not giving your body protein, you're not going to get biceps.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no building blocks there to do it because it can't build biceps out of sugar and starch, right? It can't do that. So it's like, oh, duh. Now I kind of get that. So that's a big piece of it too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's flipping that food pyramid over, and then so those 3 pieces are like, then it just works. It's like, oh, you put these things together and you stir it up and shit happens. Oh, okay.
Milky Ways don't add muscle.
No,
yeah,
no.
Bags of Cheetos.
So remember, I don't know if you listen to the podcast with Surefood. What did he say? There's no chi in a Twinkie or something like that. In a box of Twinkies.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's appropriate.
Yeah. Another thing I've been doing that I haven't been, the past few years is actually eating breakfast now. And
Starting
I feel like,
off right.
Yeah, I feel like that puts, good energy into the day as well.
Yeah.
It forces me to wake up earlier because I used to just, wake up, throw on some clothes, brush my teeth, and leave for work, But now I'm actually getting up a couple hours before work, getting the energy flowing, and it's pretty good.
Well, and waking up on your own too, without being woken by a device is a nice thing, right? The general consensus is that it doesn't matter when you start eating; just make sure you stop after you've started 12 hours later. Is sort of the. So I don't start eating I won't eat today until probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
So I do it backwards because I've never been a breakfast person.
Yeah.
I can't stand breakfast.
Yeah.
It just sits in my stomach like a rock, especially a cold breakfast. Just shoot me. I'm done. So I get up and don't eat So I go to whenever I stop eating at night, usually it's before 10 o'clock. But a lot of times I won't even start eating until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I stop at 10 o'clock again. That's the easiest way for me to do it. But it's like
that intermittent fasting or
whatever. Yeah, because I guess the theory is because once you start eating, like all these chemicals, it's the first time you consume calories, like all these chemicals go off in your body. It goes. The best way I can understand is like your body goes, oh, we're processing food now. We're in digestion mode. So all this shit happens in your liver and all this stuff happens. But those chemicals have a half-life. And they eventually, like, they burn out. And then you have to go to sleep to reset, because that's the only time those chemicals are produced is when you're asleep.
Yeah.
So what happens is if you eat outside the half-life of those chemicals, or outside once those chemicals, they're really strong at first, and then they get burned up throughout the day, and then they get to a point where they're gone. Well, all the food that you eat outside that, when those chemicals are there, your body can't do anything with that other than store it.
Okay. That's where the weight comes.
Right? So the trick is don't eat inside that. They call it the metabolic window. Don't eat inside that metabolic window, or outside that metabolic window. So what I do is I'm like, okay, here's my dumb way I understand it. Once I fire the factory up, I just cram food in it, like, until I can't stand it, and then I'm pretty much done.
That makes sense.
So I like to eat one giant 3.5 hour long meal.
Right.
Because I'm just stuffing myself, and that's when I do all my protein shakes, and I do everything. I do it all at the same time. Because like once I get this bitch fired up, it's fired up.
Right.
But I try to stack all of the calories at the front of that metabolic window where those chemicals are the strongest.
Right.
And it made sense to me. Now I could be completely making that how this works.
It sounds good,
but the way it feels like it works for me is that worked. It was like, okay, I take on muscle mass the fastest that way. I burn fat the fastest that way, and then I stack my workouts. Like when I go to the gym, it's at the end of my fast.
Oh, okay.
So it's when I'm out of everything. Okay, so then it's fat burn. It cranks up.
Wow.
I've heard crazy numbers like 1,200% increase in fat burn when you do that way and stuff too.
Damn, where you're not stuffing your face and you just got done working out, whatever.
Yeah, well, then I come home and I eat.
Do your cycle, you do your whole cycle.
I do. Then I start my cycle later that day after I get about 3 hours. Because I'll go to the gym, and then it might be 3 or 4 hours after I go to the gym before I eat for the first time. I drink water.
Yeah.
So it's calories.
See, people would equate that to how do you get the energy to go do that?
I have more energy now than I've ever had in my life. Dude, I mean, that's what I mean. I feel like I'm on springs. I run around factories and stuff. They were making fun of me because I'm 46 years old and I'm jumping off of mezzanines and slamming, bam, hitting the steel decks and stuff. And everybody's looking at me, and it's like, that's a 46-year-old dude up there doing that.
Well, the human body's amazing if you take care of it.
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, I feel strong, and it feels awesome.
Able to whip that ass.
Yeah.
I had to have knee surgery to get there. I had to go in and have some of my meniscus disc cut off to get there, but now I'm there. I say that 10 times fast.
Yeah.
That shit rhymes.
So, gentlemen, we've done an hour. That's a good show segment. You got anything you promoting? Anything? I mean, we talked about the show, obviously, but anything else that's going on or anything you want to get out there?
I mean, just Thought Dump Podcast about to be coming out soon.
Well, we'll definitely promote the shit out of that, and I'll put it out. It'll be out on the No Shit Cast sites and everything when you guys get your URL goes live and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, we'll get all that going.
Yep.
Today, yeah.
Yeah,
today will be the first episode that we do.
Yeah.
And then what, like Thanksgiving, you say, or slightly after that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe like Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
Not this weekend, but next weekend.
We'll go live.
Yeah.
Good shit, man. Looking forward to it. Awesome stuff. Well, thanks very much, guys. I appreciate you coming into the studio and doing this. And
awesome,
can't wait till the podcast comes out. We'll be looking forward to that. If you're out there, make sure you're liking and subscribing and doing all that social media crap that has to be done to make things, be popular and all that other stuff. So like us up and check us out at noshitcast.com. We'll catch y'all later. Bye, sickles.